The video I'm about to dissect here clearly shows how out of touch with reality Bernie Sanders truly is. He accuses Vladimir Putin and Russia of actively interfering in our election that put Trump in the White House. But then he admits he has absolutely no evidence. But then he doubles down on his assertion that Americans know that Russia more or less hacked the election. If you thought Sanders was a sane and rational person, let's have a look at this video.
Sanders, I spoke to him earlier this evening. Senator Sanders, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Nunes says he has seen no evidence of contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials, and that there should not be a special prosecutor appointed to investigate. Do you agree with him?
No, of course I don't agree with him. Look, what we have happened is unprecedented in the history of our country. We have a major government, the Russian government, led by Mr. Putin, actively interfering in our elections, trying to do everything that they could to make sure that Mr. Trump won the election.
There Sanders goes. Vladimir and Russia actively, he uses the word actively as if he knows it, as if he has hard evidence. They interfered in our election in any way possible to get Trump into the White House. So it sounds like, again, that Sanders must have good, solid evidence that this actually happened. I mean, if you're going to make this kind of an accusation, then you've got to have really solid evidence, right? But then Sanders goes on and says this.
Now, there may not yet be any evidence of direct collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign. Perhaps today we do not know. But clearly, this is an issue of enormous consequence. Did the Trump campaign collude with the Russian government in order for Mr. Trump to be the next president of the United States? That is an issue that has to be investigated. And what Mr. Nunes knows today or doesn't know is not important. What we need to do is to investigate whether or not that is true.
What? Sanders just admitted there was no evidence. But he says that doesn't matter. We need to investigate anyway. Okay. We need to investigate based on what? I mean, I believe there's some kind of a minimum standard of evidence before you can open an investigation. I can't just accuse Bernie Sanders of drug possession because he has really messed up hair and he's kind of unkempt all the time. I actually have to have evidence, or the authorities have to have evidence, that Bernie Sanders has possession of drugs before they can arrest him or before they can investigate. So then Sanders goes on and says this after Sean Spicer says there's basically no evidence in this case.
And how do you want to see that investigation proceed? Because, I mean, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer today said that there's nothing there when it comes to collusion with the Russians. Obviously,
they say, I mean, Anderson, these are the guys who obviously do not want to pursue this issue. They wish that it would go away.
Bernie, you nitwit, of course they don't want to pursue it. Because there's no evidence. You just admitted that 45 seconds ago.
The only problem is the American people know that the Russian government actively participated in our campaign in an unprecedented way. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that Trump's financial dealings have been dependent on Russian money. What does that mean? And the question of collusion is maybe the most important issue of all. So it doesn't matter to me what the administration says, doesn't matter to me what Congressman Nunes says. What matters to me is that the American people have got to learn the truth. And that means an independent investigation. It means the Intelligence Committee here in the Senate and in the House do everything they can to get to the truth.
President Trump today talked about his intentions again to repeal and replace Obamacare. There certainly does not seem to be.
Wait, what? The American people know that Russia actively participated in our election? And you have evidence of this, even though you just said you don't have any evidence? And Bernie, how do the American people know that Russia actively participated in the election when you yourself just admitted you don't have the evidence? How would the American people have the evidence? And why does Anderson Cooper here, why does he just go on right onto the subject of Obamacare and he doesn't even question Sanders about these ridiculous accusations? He just lets him spout these absurd charges, and then he does absolutely nothing to maybe signal the low information voters that crazy man Bernie Sanders is making slanderous accusations that he simply can't back up. This is where we are in America today. Bernie Sanders can make the most slanderous, ridiculous accusations right on national TV based on no evidence whatsoever while he's being interviewed by a so-called journalist, and then that journalist says nothing. He just lets it ride with no corroboration whatsoever. I mean, is this a setup? When you have this level of fake news, you have a senator and CNN almost colluding together to create an entirely false narrative, to make up a story that's not even a story, and come up with an entirely false accusation. I think you really have to ask yourself, who's behind this? This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. We do want to hear from you, so if you would, please leave your comments in the comment section below this video. And if you would, please don't forget to subscribe to Conservative News here on YouTube. See ya!